Hey y'all, it's David Ducker coming back at you with Joshua Powers Pullman, the MVP, the Kitchener RPG scene. Today we're going to be talking about player character death. What is player character death? It's when your player character dies. Easy definition. I always like to define the topics just so there's no confusion. And this one, it's pretty hard to get confused about. You wanted to do this video. Do you want to start off, Randall?
Sure, I'll do it my randomly way. Basically, with PC death, it's a question of when is it appropriate? Is it when it's cinematically appropriate? Is it when the die fall that way? When it just fate? That inherent risk to playing a character in a role-playing game. And I'm actually curious as to Dave's flock here, if any of them have pulled that sort of trick where you just make something up so that they don't die. I know I've done it. I don't really like doing it, though, because if you are always saving your PCs from death, there's no risk. And if there's no risk, there's not really a point to having the mechanical side of the role-playing game. You may as well just be doing it sort of freeform.
And that leads us down the dangerous path to LARP. No one wants to get involved with that. Except John Large. I'm sorry, John.
I happen to enjoy it as well. I know. Shocking deaths exposed. Mothers, hide your children.
Mothers, hide your daughters. For me. Children for him. Daughters for me.
Oof.
Please.
Oof. I shaved that mustache.
Yeah.
But no, essentially my question is have you ever use DM Fiat to save a player? And please feel free to respond below, because I'm awfully curious myself. It seems like it's something every DM does at some point, and I'm sure many of you will object and call me an asshole, whatever, and blah, 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 blah. But
I'll call you an asshole.
If losing your the story's protagonist, because oftentimes a character will single themselves out, and they'll be like, well, and the DM will be like, I can hitch my cart to that horse, right to the top of the charts of Storydom, or whatever, I don't care. My point is, and that character dies, and they have no means of revival. And your story pretty much ends there if they die. Do you allow that? Because ultimately that would be detrimental to the overall group, in my opinion. Or do you kind of make something up? Now, again, it falls back, but it was a legitimate death. If he did something dumb, and he deserved to die.
Aaron springs to mind suddenly. Aaron, in our Legends of the Seven Sands campaign, it ran about 2 years, and he died about 10 times.
Died once.
And Josh died once, and I think that's all the PC deaths we had. So Josh actually had his character died. The dice rolled that way. I don't GM Fiat anything, so he died. Now he did actually have a storyline resurrection though. And usually I destroy resurrections. We've had attempted resurrections that misfired.
Bit me in the ass later on.
But
storyline resurrection.
But in this case, we had a resurrection that actually worked, and it was awesome. So for me, there's definitely no fiat involved. The dice say you die, you die. And I've done videos on reality in RPGs and why you have to stick by the rules to create that reality to which the rules of the game are the laws of physics. If you break the laws of physics, you're opening up a can of worms. So I have to go by the dice. I just can't break them. It's too much work. Now you also mentioned though a good point about your protagonist, your main character, your star of your show, and I did the video on main characters and player burnout, and I was talking about you for that whole video because in Legends of the Seven Sands, Josh's character Quentin Larimore was easily the main character. Everybody else was at best supporting cast. And at worst, they died 8 times. He couldn't remember the new guy's name when his new character came in. Although I'm sure I can remember them all because most of them ended up coming back in one form or another. One of them was reincarnated as a kobold, which was a lot of fun. Aaron specifically gave me that idea, and I'm like, that's an awesome idea. Let's do that. But that falls back into one of the reasons you don't want to have a main character, a single point of failure, is because if that point fails, your whole campaign can crumble. So that's, we call our group the All-Star Squadron because it's a real team effort. Everyone is a main character, except James. He's a supporting cast, and he likes it that way. So if anyone dies, we're still fine because everyone's a main character. It's an ensemble. If Albrecht Bear dies, we've still got 5 other great characters. They can all carry the load as main stars, except James. And if it's the same with anybody. If Blaine Charrington dies, we've still got Albrecht Bear to carry the torch. We've got Ulrich Berengar to carry the torch. And if Ulrich Berengar dies, then we've still got the other 2. We can't lose. Barring a total party kill, we can't lose. Unless James is the only survivor. Then we're fucked. But that's you want to make player death less important by making no single point of failure. Everyone gets spotlight. Everyone is a good player. Everyone brings backstory and contributes. And then you don't have a big problem.
Alternatively, there is the topic of a good death, if you're familiar with the concept. Because if you have a noble knight and whatever, and you don't really want him to die because you made he fumbled an agility check downstairs and was crushed. That's not a good death. It's not cinematic. It doesn't contribute anything to the overarching plot, to the enjoyment of the game. It's just, that sucked. Wow. And so, if a character can say, I enjoyed that session, even though their character, who they've been nursing along, who they love, who they've written a big backstory, died, then you're doing a good job as a DM, honestly, because a good death is hard to do.
A good death is its own reward.
Valhalla, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you can plan it out with the player. If they're like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta leave, I've got school, I've got work, I've got kids, yada, yada, yada. I'm, joining the military.
Oh, that's how Camilla died, yeah.
Then you plan it out with them, and you can give them this big, great send-off where their character dies. And everyone, it creates this emotional impact to the other players, other characters, hopefully. We've mentioned that in prior videos, that character investment is important in the world and the other players. And so they have even more reason to struggle onwards and continue whatever they're doing, quest, mission, etc. And to me that's important. For any character that you've really enjoyed, the party has enjoyed, give them a good death if they have to go. If they're not going to be relegated to NPCs.
Absolutely. And one of the ways you can do that is choose when they're in peril. Like Josh said, don't put them in peril walking upstairs, because it's not going to be dramatic if they fail. And if the options are like really bad, like boring death, and even kind of cool, like scene of like handstand walking up the stairs, like that's the best thing that could happen. It's not really that good. Weigh your options. Don't roll a die if you already know what you want to happen. Because the dice, you could hit that critical fail, or you could hit exploding dice, Fury the Emperor, oh my god, the Inquisitor is dead. So think about when you want to roll. Don't put them in a position where they could die in a way that's not dramatic, if possible. The stairs is a great example. I think we've all seen a GM who killed someone for a ridiculous reason, whether it's balancing on a ledge or climbing a wall or trying to swim.
There are numerous setbacks one can provide to a person. Swimming is a little iffy because it's never a good idea in any role-playing game.
Pretty much not.
I've never seen swimming really kind of taken to by the party. I have a single dot in swim in our campaign because I know someday and light armor and everything. But it's just best avoided. You can't really bullshit. Oh, he drowned, partially.
There are definitely different things to do. Now the PC death can also be mitigated through fate points. If your system has fate points,
That is actually one of the reasons I love fate points. For that specific reason.
Yes, I also enjoy fate points tremendously.
Fate points, hero points, whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
It means that you can implement a level of lethality to the group, which normally your average group without hero points would just fall apart too.
Yeah.
I mean, traps and dragons and shenanigans like that, and really push them to do big heroic stuff or whatnot. Or however they earn fate points, hero points, because, I mean, that's what you're there for. You're not, I mean, it depends on the group. You know, if you want to play Made RPG, whatever, Spice of Life.
Leave Paul alone.
Power to you, but, you know, for myself, I want to see the big heroics, and I want to see people leaping off ledges to bury their axe in a dragon skull. Because that's badass! That is just awesome. And chances are the dwarf in full plate's going to fudge his acrobatics and fall to his miserable
I
death.
think you went through a table. I remember.
Oh yeah, my character.
You were jumping from the rafters.
Oh
with an axe
yeah, and
in your hand, and you missed the guy, and it was the rafters of an inn, and you just smashed through a table.
Yeah.
And the table just exploded into pieces.
Yeah, it was a mid-level game, but I just didn't actually have any acrobatics. I just left off. Yeah, anyway,
Awesome.
It was fantastic, and that's an example of a critical failure.
Yeah, but you know, as a GM, you can say, well, you know, that probably wouldn't kill you. It'll probably hurt a lot, but you probably wouldn't die.
I think that character was new too.
Now, it depends.
Oh,
It depends on the rule set, of course. You always, like I said, in my opinion, always have to stick with your rule set. I think I did a video. It might have been a tag team video with James Duffy about GM Fiat, and I hate it, and he pretty much hates it too. So now, have you seen it done well, the GM Fiat on the player death?
On a player death,
I've seen some nasty stuff. I've seen players like begging the GM, please don't have my character die. Please fudge the roll for me, GM. Don't do it. And like they're like bribing him out of character, and they're just freaking out about it. And you know, at best case scenario, yeah, please have as a GM, you know, have some manhood and say no. We got to obey the rules. Because if you beg and cry and plead this rule, you'll do it for everything.
yeah,
And indeed, I saw the GM cave in, say, "Okay, your character survives," and then, you know, for the whole rest of the night, every time any roll went against the party, they begged and they cried, they pleaded, "Please, GM, you can't do this. It's fair. It's not fun anymore." And he caved in again and again. And they were bullying him and walking all over him.
sounds like he gave
And
up.
it was disgusting.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I've heard of it being done. I wasn't there for that session, but they had my character. Anyway, there was a stone trap, and my character gets petrified, and then he gets thrown off the side of an airship, and crashes into our airship, which was circling below, instead of falling to the ocean and the bottom of the ocean. Destroyed our airship, right through the propellers. It just went right into the water.
Oh.
But I wasn't there for the session. So as far as I am aware, that was Fiat by the DM because I wasn't there. And I thought they were joking. Like, we have bad news, man. And they've been joking about this for the last week that I missed the session. And then it actually happens. And they're just like, dude, we killed your guys.
Nice.
And yeah, it's like, oh, what? This was like, this was at the 8-month mark of that 5-year campaign, 4-year campaign, something like that, and 4th edition, and they're like, yeah, we killed your guys, and like, but it happened, and he ended up being able to be resurrected and all that shenanigans. He never actually died. They unstoned him after catching men, lost some bits, but and I consider that Fiat. But and that's really
Sounds like Fiat.
Yeah, it sounds like Fiat, and that's pretty, you know. One case, I wasn't even there, right? So it's generally considered a dick move to kill your character if you're not present for the game. Which is usually why in your games and in Aaron's games and it's kind of locally we have they sit in the corner with a bucket on their head and they.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up Aaron because with myself, it doesn't seem to be very, very lethal. I've had some character deaths. Your character was killed in the last campaign, resurrected. Now, Aaron, as a GM, is very lethal. He'll kill you all the time, all day long. He came in and co-GM'd with us, and he almost killed, actually, your character.
Yeah.
So he's very, very lethal. And it's this weird connection, too, because his character style at the time, regardless of I'm GMing, and no one else died, but he dies. And then when he's GMing, just everybody dies.
Yeah.
Aaron has a death aura. Just in real life, he has a death aura. His potted plants at his house are dead. His cat is sick. It's, but it's interesting to see, the GMs who will throw these really lethal situations, like they're trying to kill you. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's not my style, but it's not a bad style.
It's a style of DMing. It's not even one I don't enjoy, but it does have to be tempered with some measure. And it's nice if you're aware of it prior, so you can have a stack of, backup characters, yay high, to rifle through when you.
You might have a killer GM if your character sheet's laminated, so you can erase it and write the next one down. Then you might have a killer GM. Enforce the rules. As I said in my realism video, and I believe my GM Fiat video, rules are so important. You have to follow them, or else the players will start begging and crying at you.
It depends on the group, but if that is the situation that you have,
you need to do some housekeeping, son. You need to get rid of some of these cats. Off the street.
Yeah, it is, in my own opinion, kind of against what the whole RPG is about. It's a team effort, but if you're literally, it's like playing a game with cheat codes for the first time. It's fine after experiment, whatever, but I mean, if you need to get through the levels by begging the DM.
Enforce the rules, but also make it cinematic. Whenever they're in danger. They should have the option of dying, and it should be cinematic, and it should be a good death. Whenever they're in danger, it should be a good death. So don't give them danger that's not exciting, that's not cinematic.
Or, exciting danger is very important. I mean, just to keep the tone of the game up, the energy level, like, oh shit, stuff is happening.
And I think you mentioned traps. Traps are the worst for that. You get killed by a trap, it's usually the most anticlimactic death of all time.
Well,
because if any other person kills you, even a goblin with a rusty dagger kills you, the players can avenge you against that goblin or his tribe or his dark goblin god, Magoubliet be praised, or whatever it is. You can get some drama out of it. You can suck some drama out of that, even a goblin. But a trap, you can't get revenge on a trap.
You can get revenge on the trap's maker.
Hopefully. Possibly. But it's not quite the same. There's no personal. This time, it's not personal.
Well, typically, traps are also not there necessarily to kill, unless you're using Grimtooth traps. They're generally designed to simply wear down the party. Oh. So, if you have a bunch of min-max meatheads, like most groups have, it seems, then it's there to chip away, use up a little bit of their resources. They go slow, maybe the big bad's aware of them. Who knows? But it's not designed to kill, it's just designed to weaken.
Oh, that's metagame.
Oh, Dave.
But that's another video. Any parting words for the player character deaths?
Go big or go home. Give them an exciting death. And if they die, if you're pretty sure they're dead, don't just be like your character, he dies. Give them this great description about how they're struggling to slay this knight or whatever, and he impales them with their sword, or they get eaten by a dragon and ripped in half, and this craziness, right? Whatever system, don't let them die in the gutter.
Yeah.
They're the protagonists or antagonists, whatever the direction of your game is going. Give them something to remember about this character other than the fact that he stepped on a landmine and died like a bitch.
Perfect. And we're going to kill this video right now. So everybody out there, use your hero points and roll high. Roll high, son!